When the 116th Congress is sworn in later today, Democrats will regain control of the House. It's the first time the party will be able to conduct rigorous oversight of the Trump administration since the president took office 2 years ago.
Until now, the highest-ranking Democratic lawmakers on key committees have had limited reach, but there are at least 5 new committee chairs who say that they're ready to begin investigating controversial Trump administration policies. So for more on that and more insight on how these lawmakers could make the president's life even more challenging, CBSN's political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us. And Caitlin, you wrote a great article sort of breaking it all down, identifying the 5 lawmakers that could potentially cause the most trouble. So let's just go through the list. We're going to start with New York Congressman Jerry Nadler, right? He is on the Judiciary Committee. The key thing about the Judiciary Committee, as you write, is that if there's going to be sort of any movement towards impeachment, it would probably start there. Let's just listen to a little bit of sound from him.
For the last 2 years, the president has had no oversight and no accountability from Congress. The Republican Congress was completely derelict in its responsibility to provide oversight. We are going to provide that oversight. We're going to use the subpoena power if we have to. We will call in Mr. Whitaker, for instance. We'll have to protect the Mueller investigation and pass that legislation.
Okay, so oversight is one thing, but do you think he has the stomach for impeachment? Is that something he would be interested in?
He has been very cautious about talking about impeachment. And let's just take a look at Nadler and his relationship with this particular president. They actually go way back to Trump's real estate days. Nadler, of course, represents an area of Manhattan. They sparred over real estate deals in New York City, both when Nadler was an assemblyman and Trump was a developer, and then Nadler, of course, later went to Congress. So they have a fraught relationship there, and the president has had some choice words for Nadler. But Nadler was also a top defender of then President Clinton during his impeachment proceedings, really protective of Clinton and guarding against the idea of impeachment. So he still has been very cautious about talking about impeachment, about talking about gathering all the facts and seeing where this investigation leads. You're hearing that a lot from Democrats in positions of leadership, this kind of wait-and-see approach. They don't want to get ahead of themselves or the facts, but there is this overarching theme as well of protecting the Mueller investigation. So you're hearing that from Nadler. You're going to hear it from other committee chairs as well.
Just want to point out that at 11 a.m. we have the morning meeting of CBS This Morning happening behind us. It gets very, very loud.
You can hear it.
So if you can hear that, we apologize for that. It's a working newsroom. So let's talk about who will take over the House Intelligence Committee.
Right.
Adam Schiff, right? We all remember Devin Nunes.
Right.
In the middle of the night,
memos.
the memos, and him going to the White House under some very strange circumstances, and the inability or the refusal, one would say, of the Intelligence Committee to investigate anything that our intelligence agencies were saying happened in the 2016 election. What can we expect? He's been very vocal. I think we get a sense of where he's going to go.
Right. And Adam Schiff has been prolific on cable news shows and on social media. Now, like many of Trump's critics, he has not only a megaphone, but actual legislative tools to make the president's life a little more difficult and provide that oversight. So there are a couple of different things that Adam Schiff in particular is interested in. First, we did see a partisan breakdown of the Intelligence Committee, which is traditionally known to be a bipartisan entity, because you're dealing with issues of intelligence. I mean, it was really remarkable that this committee could not agree on assessments of the same intelligence. So that will look for that in this new Congress. He wants to look at 2 things regarding Trump and Russia. First, money laundering, or the potential money laundering through the Trump organizations by Russians. He has that as an open question. He also wants to know a lot more about that Trump Tower meeting that we've talked about, where Donald Trump Jr. was promised dirt on Hillary Clinton. He wants to perhaps even subpoena phone records related to that. And then beyond the Russia investigation, he wants to investigate analysis of U.S. intelligence, especially regarding the U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia and the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
That's a lot of meaty topics there. Elijah Cummings will chair the Oversight Committee. What's on his agenda? Has he expressed anything?
Well, oversight is what Democrats have been craving over the past 2 years, and this is the committee that provides that. But Cummings is also being pretty cautious about how to approach oversight in the Trump era, very cautious about overreach, and knows that there is the ability, perhaps, for Democrats to do that. So he's focused on a few areas of concern, in addition to the Mueller probe as well, and in addition to going after any scandals within the Trump administration. He wants to focus on things like voting rights, focus on things like the economy of the Postal Service, the economic situation of the Postal Service. He's also been talking a lot about healthcare and prescription drug prices and regulating in terms of those markets. So those are some things that he's very focused on and wants to run, as he said, the committee like a courtroom and have a fairness process and be cautious about issuing subpoenas if he doesn't need them.
And that's a great point to make, because I think for a lot of Democrats, they're probably happy that there will finally, in their minds, be some oversight of this administration. On the other hand, appearing too overzealous or appearing to focus all of your attentions on the president's, his tax returns and the things that he says and he does, as opposed to doing the business of the American people. If many of these representatives lived through the Bill Clinton era, and they know that overzealous attacks on a president can actually lead to the popularity rising of that president. Bill Clinton left office more popular than ever, having been attacked almost relentlessly by Republicans.
And that's where Nadler is coming from, and some of these others, if they weren't in Congress at the time, being students of history themselves, trying to balance the excitement and energy within the within the Democratic Party base about being able to go after Trump, but also recognizing that there has to be some balance here. But the issue of taxes is also very interesting. Richard Neal is someone who's going to be chairing the House Ways and Means Committee, the Tax Rating Committee, and he says that he wants to see the president's taxes. Remember, President Trump has been the only president in recent history, at least, to not release those returns. And he has said he's under audit. He's made a lot of excuses for them. Richard Neal, as the committee chair, could ask, because of a provision in the tax code, could ask the Treasury to release those records. And that would put Steven Mnuchin, of course, the Treasury Secretary, in a difficult position, although he has said, according to an interview he did with the New York Times, that he is open to working with Democrats on this. So that's something to watch as well, at least in terms of that committee.